This is something positive and not negative.
Are you actually saying then that Israel bombing your country, civilians in Iran being killed, is a positive thing?
I'm not saying that the targeting was meant to hurt the Iranian people. The targeting was meant to basically neutralize the regime threat. Clearly, I don't think that it was an intention of the Israeli government to attack Iranian civilians.
با چه روی مایه میزنین اما حواس واسه 80 میلیون مسیر مارپیچ واسه شما سالها سازاد راست سیاسی معروفی خواننده‌ای خلاصه اخری هستی سوار مردمی دنده میدی به آدم معمولی کدوم ما تو همون موقع که بودیم با ماها نبودی هر روز پا میشم خواب میگم دیگه نمیشه بدتر ولی میشه بدتر تازه نوبت بنزین بدبختی یارو نمیشه جمع کرد دادم هر روز تو شک اینو
اینجاییم دیگه هی میبینیم و حس میکنیم ولی چیکار کنیم دیگه
Nothing seems quite as absurd as Iranians celebrating Israeli airstrikes on their own country, but it's happened. We're here. And in certain corners of the Iranian diaspora, and to be fair within Iran as well, this irony has become a political position. The growing fantasy that Israel, of all states in the world, might be the one to liberate Iran from its regime. I suspect that this is the reason why since October the 7th we've seen these groups marching in pro-Israel rallies across Europe, waving pre-1979 flags, parroting IDF talking points, and justifying the ongoing genocide in Gaza by invoking Hamas, the universal scapegoat.
Officer, he supports Hamas. He's right to his opinion. He can do whatever he says, but... You understand me? He supports Hamas. He supports Hamas.
Yes, Iranians aligning themselves with a far-right Israeli state facing charges of genocide is pretty But this alliance hasn't gone unnoticed in Tel Aviv. During the height of the protests following Mahsa Amini's murder by the regime, Netanyahu seized on the moment to position himself as a champion of Iranian women, framing a shared struggle between Israelis and Iranians. It's no surprise that the name of Israel's military campaign against Iran, Operation Rising Lion, evokes pre-revolutionary nationalist imagery, and Netanyahu's public remarks on June 13th insisted that Israel is not targeting Iranian citizens, but the regime itself. So how have we arrived at the point where Iranians are endorsing military attacks on their own country? And hey, anytime I try and give some nuance or try not to caricaturize these groups, I hear something like this.
It was in fact becoming so progressive that it was almost like a backlash or jihad-lash, to the amount of progress that the Shah was implementing. Like he had all of these reforms, like the white reform, where he was kind of rapidly progressing to the extent that he was putting women in high positions in government. It was like really developing.
Well, do you feel your wife can govern as well as a man?
I prefer not to answer.
Okay. Now, if you genuinely believe that the Shah was not an autocratic dictator, who ruled as an absolute monarch, curtailing democratic institutions after the CIA-backed coup in 1953 that overthrew a democratically elected prime minister in his aims to nationalize the country's resources, which included imprisoning and torturing activists, intellectuals, journalists, while projecting himself as the fucking light of the area and the king of kings, emphasizing his divine right to rule, then yes, it makes sense that there was a revolution in 1979 because things were becoming too progressive. Now look, it's perfectly human to hold naive positions. This is not particularly new for Iranians. Our nationalism, as with all nationalisms, flirts with exceptionalism. Fueled by imperial nostalgia, repeated narratives of cultural superiority, and resistance, historical resistance against traumatic legacies of foreign interference, both the Pahlavi monarchy and the Islamic Republic have weaponized this legacy to frame Iran as somehow above the geopolitical fray, even as they play into it. But diaspora, Zionism, Iranian Zionism marks a whole new level of detachment. To imagine that liberation can be delivered from the bombs of a state actively engaged in mass killing, with a proven track record of contempt for sovereignty and international law, is a hollow theatre of exiles mistaking spectacle for struggle, parroting the rhetoric of a state that would happily see their homeland reduced to rubble as long as it served their strategic interests. Furthermore, where on earth can you point to where regime change by Western entities has led to any betterment in people's lives? All of this is a gamble. It's a gamble with other people's lives, made from the safety of elsewhere, and it speaks to a troubling willingness to discard principles, justice, anti-imperial, they don't believe in this, for the mirage of regime change by foreign hand.
احساس میکنم که بهم خیانت شده. احساس خیانت بهم دست داده، ولی این بار از طرف شما، از طرف خبرنگارای ایران اینترنشنال و بخشی از جامعه وقتی میگن که این جنگ جمهوری اسلامیه، نه جنگ مردم. و من همینطور مات و مبهوت موندم که چطور میشه ایرانی بود از حمله به کشور، از نابود شدن منابع کشور، تأسیسات کشور، از مرگ هموطنای بیگناهمون خوشحال بود یا حداقل مشکلی باش نداشت. برام سواله که اگه ذره ایران دوستی تو وجودتون باشه، نباید این اجازه رو به خودتون میدادید که بیاین از حق اسرائیل از دفاع از خودش بگید، اونم از اسرائیل که کل دنیا این کشور رو داره به ترور، به آدم کشی محکوم میکنه. شما دارید از منفورترین کشور دنیا دفاع میکنید بر علیه کشور خودتون. و متاسفم از خیلی از افرادی که میان تو شبکه اجتماعی یا الان میان تو برنامه شما ادعا میکنن که از این حملات خوشحالن. الان همونا منتظرن دشمن بیاد کشور رو آزاد کنه. و من میخوام به اینجور افراد بگم که ذهی خیال باطل که فکر کنید دشمن میاد بدون چشم‌داش کشور رو برای شما آزاد میکنه. و من فکر میکنم که آقای حسینی شما انقدر آدم باهوشی هستید که بدونید دارید با این مردم صادق نیستید، با این مردم دارید بهشون راستشو نمیگید. و امیدوارم یه روز با وجدان خودتون کنار بیاید، اون وقتی که دیگه از وطنمون چیزی باقی نموند. امیدوارم شاید اتفاق نیفته، امیدوارم اسرائیل تو این آتیشی که خودش درست کرده بسوزه، ولی اگه 1% این اتفاق افتاد، خدای نکرده، امیدوارم شما بتونید با وجدان خودتون کنار بیاید. تا همین الانش هم 78 نفر از مردم ما مردن. با هر کی صحبت میکنی همسایه کناریمون، طبقه بالاییمون، کوچه کناریمون رو زدن. و نمیدونم چجوری ممکنه یکی بیاد بگه من از این وضعیت ناراحت نیستم، خیلی هم خوشحالم، آخ چون اسرائیل میاد ما رو نجات میده. چطور ممکنه همچین چیزی؟
Wait. What else do you propose? Yes, it's opportunistic. Yes, it's cynical. Let's say I agree. Let's say I entirely agree with everything you've said so far. How else do you propose the regime be taken down? You guys, yes, you guys are the real fantasists. You live in this world where the regime finally comes to his senses and says, hey, you know what? We were wrong this whole time. Let's change things. Never going to happen. They dangle you with a carrot, then bang comes the stick. Dangle you with a carrot, bang comes the stick. Dangle you with a carrot, bang comes the stick. If you're waiting around for some kind of reform, my guy, you're going to be waiting forever, and everyone is going to suffer as a result of your waiting. The only way that regime change is ever an option is through US or Israeli intervention. Every single thing that you can conjure up is a fantasy. It's not real. As you people like to keep parroting, it doesn't reflect the material conditions. So let me get this straight. Let's assume I live in a fantasy world. What you're telling me is that Israel and the US destroyed the regime. Gone. Somehow Iran, which is a multi-ethnic state of Persians, Azeris, Kurds, Arabs, Baluchis, Turkmens, Lurs, along with some of their respective separate movements who have been repressed for decades, they don't balkanize. It just doesn't happen. They don't balkanize due to the power vacuum that would emerge from the sudden collapse of a highly centralized state. With power concentrated in Tehran, That's not going to happen. Meanwhile, the Shah will be dropped in first class, transform Iran into Western-style liberal democracy while not falling into the exploitation of the IMF, World Bank through debt dependency and structural policy adjustments. Yes.